We can't handle the truth. It makes white folks uncomfortable, and it makes black people feel ashamed. And all those in between, you could relate. But after you see what happened to black or African people, the African Holocaust, you turn your head and act like you didn't see nothing, as long as it don't affect your culture. And the funny thing about all of that is, if civilization started in Africa, that means all of us are one family. Even the ones who act like savages, who call us savages. We are one. But until we unite, we shall be forever conquered, because they've been running the same game the whole time, divide and conquer. But we have already heard the whole truth. Africa's history, its wealth, its very people were stolen. But hear me now. The chains did not, and I'm talking about the chains around your neck and everything, did not simply vanish the day flags were lowered. They changed shape. Slavery mutates when the old lash no longer suits the hand that holds the money. Today it walks under new names: debt, dependency, distraction, and denial. Once they bound our wrists with iron, today they bound our minds with images. Where there was once ships filled with bodies crossed the oceans, now corporations and algorithms cross the globe, carrying influence, culture, and a new obedience. They do not need to force us into fields when they can convince us through screens, feeds, and curated news that our labor, our culture, our very stories are less valuable than their brands and their timelines. This is colonization of the mind. It is subtle and it is ruthless. It begins with what we see and what we are taught to see. Our languages are marginalized in school. Our history summarized in footnotes. Our heroes reduced to exotic anecdotes. Then they mock and shun, exclude. Our music and all our fashions are lifted and sold back to us at a profit, stripped of context and presented as novelty. Our children grow up consuming images that tell them that the good life looks like someone else's life, European life, that's the way to get by and to buy, to emulate, to want. That desire is the new plantation. The internet was promised as a great equalizer, and yet in many places it has become the fastest highway for the old power to travel. And the funny thing about that is I heard tell that maybe an African might have brought that into fruition. But you can't tell the truth from lies and lies from truth no more, because we're so used to hearing lies as the truth. Algorithms reward content that is loud, sensational, and simple. Me telling you the truth is not a big thing. I'm not going to get too many likes or shares or anything like that talking about Africa. Oh, no. They amplify divisions and drown out nuances. They flood our attention with unending stream of distraction, outrage, celebrity, clickbait. While we are busy arguing about the latest viral scandal, the contracts that extract our resources are signed into boardrooms we cannot enter. While we scroll, they take. While we binge, they audit, privatize, and appropriate. Financially, modern-day slavery often wears the suit of a loan. Loans are tied to impossible terms, trade deals that favor export of raw materials and import of finished goods, tax rules crafted in distant capitals. These are the new ropes. Debt becomes the excuse to control policy, to install pliant leaders, and that means black folks who sell us out, to extract concessions. And when they say extract concessions, they pay them to sell us out. When governments vow to repay, The people pay with hospitals that never get built, with schools that are underfunded, with land leased to foreign firms that promise jobs but bring enclosure. Extraction continues. The map changed, the route changed, but the end is the same. And then there is culture. The lie that Africa needed to be civilized in film, in textbooks, and casual jokes that erase our dignity. Why did they have to lie? Because theft is easier to justify when the thief can convince the world that the victim is less than human. If you tell the story that a people were backward, you justify taking their land. If you call their religion superstitious, you justify banning it. If you call their resistance barbaric, you justify violence against them. Lies are the mortar that build empires. Why do they still lie? Ha! Because power depends on consent, not always force, but the quiet consent of those who believe the story. And that's where we are. Not only when we speak about the African Holocaust, Africa, even today in government, with the type of government we have, taking all the things that made democracy stand for something, the freedom of speech, the freedom to go in the United States or outside of the United States whenever you want it. Oh no, if this narrative that we live right now continues, you won't have any freedoms, and you sat there and let it happen. Power depends on consent. If the narrative remains that Africa is a problem to be solved rather than a partner to be respected, then intervention looks benevolent. Extraction can be labeled development. If the myth persists that progress only comes from the outside, then foreign aid and advisors, corporations always have a seat at the table. Lies protect systems of profit and prestige. Lies protect the inherited privileges of those who do not want to share. And why do we share? The media is a tool and a weapon. It can illuminate, but often it confuses. News cycles prefer tragedy without context, the sensationalism without history. Flattened into sound bites so that the deeper truth, that centuries of exploitation created the conditions we now lament, never reaches the public square. Social media thrives on outrage that divides, not on analysis that unites. That division is useful. A distracted people do not organize. A people who fight among themselves do not demand reparations, do not demand fair trade, do not reclaim land and industry. We must call out the mechanics. We must name the players. Multinational firms that profit from our minds while paying little tax. Institutions that promote policies designed in foreign capitals. Educational systems that prioritize foreign languages and foreign histories. Tech platforms that monetize our attention while selling our data to the highest bidder. These are not accidents. They are design choices. They are the blueprint of a new empire, a new slavery that values our exports and discount our humanity. But do not hear me as a prophet of doom. Hear me as a keeper of hope. There are cracks in this system because the truth leaks through. Young Africans are building startups that serve community, platforms that teach indigenous languages, films that show Africans' lives in full color and complexity, music that changes the world with rhythms on our terms. We are building banks and co-ops, reclaiming farmland, and a system on curriculum that tells our children who they really are. Diaspora is connecting, investing, and pushing for justice. Resistance today uses the same tools that the colonizers used, but with purpose: to educate, to organize, to demand change. How do we fight this new slavery? First, by telling the truth loudly, clearly, and everywhere. Teach the real history in our schools. Demand that media that explains and contextualizes the truth. Support independent African journalism and technology built here, governed here. Refuse to buy the cheap stories that demean us. push for fair trade, fair taxation.